Let's get reaction from some teachers' unions and opposition parties to this decision to reopen schools for Leaving Cert students. Rose Conway-Walsh, Sinn Féin TD for Mayo. Rose, good morning.
Good morning, Tommy.
What's your take?
The numbers are too high. We're in an emergency situation, a national emergency situation. I don't believe that Norma Foley has proven to us, certainly not as an opposition, that that it's safe for Leaving Cert students to go back for 3 days a week next week. It's as simple as that. While the numbers are where they're at, and we see them creeping all the time closer, particularly in terms of hospitalisations and ICU beds, and using up the capacity there, to suddenly put out 60,000 17, 18-year-olds Leaving Cert students, to expose them and their families and the teachers who are going to be teaching them to the risk, to that risk, I think is unacceptable.
And just going back to Maria's email a moment ago about the fact that all of the students left their books in the schools, and if they're going to be taught online, they need their books, and having to go in and we're going to have a huge number of parents and teachers and students congregating in schoolyards picking up books.
And that's why I'm really angry about this, because the government had 9 months to plan for this, and it's obvious there was no plan B, and they have just cobbled this together now without any proper consultation or anything. This could have totally been avoided. What happened last March couldn't have been avoided, but what's happening now could have been avoided. And I think so I'm furious about it. I have a meeting with Simon Harris at 1 o'clock today. I'm going to be relaying this to him and my concerns and our concerns about it. Look, if we put these students and their families at risk over the next 3 weeks, we cannot undo it. But we can try and address, even with the lack of planning and not having a minimum standard for remote learning, which I think is disgraceful a year on, that we don't have a minimum standard there, that we can do it. But if the numbers continue to rise over the next 2 to 3 weeks, then we're in serious trouble as we are. We're going to be in even more serious trouble.
So close the schools, you're saying? Leave them all closed?
They have to, for the moment, just for the moment, until we get a grip on the numbers to know exactly what we're dealing with. We haven't even seen the outworking of Christmas and the New Year yet in terms of numbers. We don't have a take on it. While we have some numbers now, even because people have been told if they're a close contact and they don't have symptoms, that they don't get tested, then we don't know how. We're getting frightening numbers, and we know that the numbers are even above and beyond that. We cannot take further risks at this particular time. We just can't. Now, I may come on to you, and I hope that I would, this day next week or the week after, and say, right, okay, now it seems like we've got control of the situation. Norma Foley or the government have come forward to say with what the safety plans are, and then we revise it. We have to look on it on a day-by-day and a week-by-week basis. But for students, any students of any classes to come down, we need the transmission in the community to come down first.
Okay. Vice President of the ASTI was with us earlier, Eamon Dennehy. I mean, he was trying to put as brave a face as possible on it, but the lack of consultation means they don't know in the school where he teaches where they're going next Monday. They're completely in limbo land, lack of consultation. Were you, as or your party, as the largest opposition party, when did you find out about this idea of letting the Leaving Cert students in 3 days a week? Did you hear it through the media, or were you consulted in advance? Yesterday. Donncha O'Leary, our education, he looks after the first and second level education. I do the higher education. He learned it yesterday in the meetings with the minister. So there was no consultation with us either. Now, I know the Taoiseach is supposed to be meeting with opposition parties today. I wrote to Simon Harris earlier on this week to ask to meet him, and in fairness, as I say, he's meeting me at 1 o'clock today. We're meeting virtually, but because there's a knock-on effect of this as well, obviously in terms of third level and CAO offers and all of that. But we weren't. And what I'm absolutely furious about as well, Tommy, is this notion that the dole wouldn't sit. This notion that we would have 6 hours a week and that there would be no private members' time or no time for just kind of a basic dole for 6 hours a week.
We need democratic oversight and accountability of these decisions that are being made. We are now in a national emergency situation, but the democratic process must be upheld. We have to have some way of getting answers to the questions that are being raised in your programme, and people ringing into you, and people contacting us all of the time. We have to represent the people at this time more than ever, and we cannot do that unless there is a proper Dáil sitting. So I know they're meeting later on today. Pádraig McLaughlin, our chief whip, will be meeting in the business meeting, and we will be putting that very strongly to government as well.
Right, there we leave it, Rose. Thank you as always for joining us, Rose Conway-Walsh.